Thank you very much for coming this morning. My name is Dr. Leonard Coldwell, and I am coming all the way from Germany to speak to you today. It is a great honor to be here with all these wonderful people and these great speakers. And I want to tell yourself a little bit about myself. When I was 7 years old, my mother developed liver cirrhosis due to a surgery, a gallbladder surgery that went wrong. All my life, I knew my mother only with chronic pain, screaming all day long, and then the emergency doctor came and gave her some injections so that she didn't have to scream that loud. It never really stopped. A couple of years later, when I was 12 years old, they diagnosed my mother with liver cancer in a terminal state. Every morning, or every afternoon, when I came back from school, the very first thing I had to do is to open up the bedroom door to see if my mother is still alive. The doctor said, there's no help. Nobody ever recovered from liver cancer in a terminal state. Learn to live with the pain and try to make the best out of the last 2 years you have. I have to say, all 7 siblings of my mother died on cancer. My grandmother died on cancer. My father died on cancer. My stepfather died on cancer. There's nobody out there in this world that has more knowledge about the impact on cancer, of cancer, on the people that live with the patient than I have. Nobody. Since there was no solution, since nobody had any solution to offer, there was nothing left to do than trying to find our own solution. Whenever we asked a medical doctor, he said or she said, there's nothing we can do. Nobody ever recovered from liver cancer in a terminal state. There's no treatment. There's nothing to do. Learn to live with the pain. Make the best of the last 2 years you have. I was 12 years old when my father left because he said, I don't want a sick wife. Ironically, he died on cancer later himself. Since there was nothing, there was no hope, I started to read everything a 12-year-old boy could read about alternative health. I tried to speak to people that were sick before and that got healthy again. I tried to understand what are the dynamics of health. What are the dynamics of self-healing? Because over 35 years of being in practice and working with over 35,000 patients that have mostly been given up by the medical profession to die, and still having, so I believe, the highest cancer curing rate in the world. I started to go to every seminar they let a kid go to. And they always said, where's your mom, where's your dad? Who's really here? Who are you with? I said, no, I'm here by myself. I want to find out how to cure my mom. I talked to many patients that have been really, really sick before and got healthy again. And there was some kind of hope because there were people before that have been sick and that recovered. How did this go? How did this work? I read everything about herbology, hypnotism, hypnotherapy. I talk to healers. Most of them are really crooks. But there are this 1% out there that produces stunning results. I have seen things that I cannot really believe today thinking about it. So, applying everything I could to my mom, when I was 14, 16, I read about 800 books on healing and alternative health. I had our family doctor, she was already retired by then, over the age of 80, sitting down with me, a kid, and explaining to this child who was so eager to learn how to cure his mom, how the body works, what goes on in a cancer patient. When I was 16, my mom was still alive, already 4 years longer than she should have been. And she got a little bit better. And I started to learn and talk to healers and to patients. I talked to the therapists that had unusual results. And I put it all together and I tried everything with my mom because there was nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing. I will tell you, to make a very, very long and very painful story short. My mom is still alive today, 72 years old, and the healthiest person you can ever run into. My mom is full of energy and vitality like nobody else I know, and her liver is 100%. The day that changed my life forever was not my mom's story, it was my grandmother's story. My grandmother brought 7 children to the entire Second World War as a refugee, just by herself, because they put my grandfather into a Nazi concentration camp because he wasn't willing to kill his Jewish neighbors. My grandmother, who raised 7 children, and she was an emergency nurse all of her life. She also worked with mentally handicapped children. My grandmother had a bad lymph node in her breast for 28 years. It did not grow. It didn't hurt. It didn't do anything. And a young doctor did a physical on her and said, "You have cancer and we need to do surgery right away." I tell you out of experience, if they tell you right away, run. They lie. They want your money. That's all they want. This doctor talked my grandmother into surgery. Of course, it took her breast. It took many lymph nodes. And from that day on, my grandmother died the most horrible death I have ever seen in my life. And I've seen a lot of people dying in my career of 35 years. Now you get a double lecture. So they did the surgery. My grandmother comes out of the surgery, and 10 days later she looks about 30 years older than she looked the day she went into the hospital. She lost her hair, her fingernails, her eyebrows. And my grandmother, started to develop a growth in her arm. The right arm got bigger and bigger and bigger, so that at the end it didn't fit into the coffin anymore. That's how big it was. I saw my grandmother's arm breaking open, full of mucus, smelling of toxins. And when you entered the hospital room, you couldn't even inhale deep because you had the feeling you burn your lungs. That's how acidic and toxic my grandmother smelled after everything they did to her. My grandmother wanted to die so desperately because she couldn't handle the pain, but her heart did not stop beating. Finally, they did what they always do if they messed up a patient and they have nothing else to do. There is this brand new experimental drug, and you could save so many people if you let us try it on you. And at this point I thought, this is really strange. If they had a solution, why didn't they apply it before? So and they did this wonderful brand new experimental drug, and I believed my grandmother was in a really bad shape before. No. Now she was in a really bad shape. Her skin now broke open everywhere on her entire body. There was no part of her body that she could lay on because the skin just peeled off when you touched it. She still couldn't die. But there was another brand new experimental drug. If she would sign that she could try it, it could help so many other people. And they tried it. They finally murdered my grandmother like they murdered millions of people before, because chemotherapy and radiation causes cancer. It doesn't cure cancer. And surgery, in 90% of the cases, makes it worse and makes the cancer spread through the entire body. Ladies and gentlemen, when my grandmother died, and that was a day that changed my life forever, I'm standing next to the hospital bed of my grandmother. And my mom asked the doctor, what happened? And the doctor said, we didn't know it would happen that fast. And I said, wait a second, what did you just say? Oh, we didn't know it would happen that fast. I said, you knew this exact thing will happen? And they said, yes, but usually it takes longer. It takes 5 years. If we take out that many lymph nodes, of course the arm will swell. If we apply all these treatments, of course there will be a reaction. That's what they call it. And that was a day when I recognized and asked this doctor, you knew all this up front and you still did it? And he said, yes, we had to take a chance. A chance on my grandmother's life, on a person's life, on a woman that had no problems with a tumor in her breast that was there for 28 years and did not grow, and did not hurt, and did not do anything bad. And that was a day when I understood that the medical profession does not have a solution. There are many, very many well-intentioned doctors, and there are always these 10% that are different. Like my great colleague Dr. Wu here, for example. There are always 10% that really care, that really want to make a difference. But to find them, the only way is if you ask other people about a great doctor, about a caring doctor, about a doctor that doesn't say, I need a new Porsche, get on the operation table. A cancer patient is a piggy bank. We nip here, we nip there, let's do a biopsy, let's make some money. I need a good restaurant tonight. And then, of course, that you don't have a chance to get informed, all of a sudden you had no problems, but now they have to do the surgery tomorrow morning because you're already dying. Nothing even hurts. You don't have any kind of symptoms. But they need to do the surgery today. So, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you get diagnosed with anything, please go to 3 or 5 different other therapists and get their opinion, their idea, their diagnosis, before you let them do anything with you. There's no cancer in this world that makes a main difference of 48 hours or even more. You don't need to make a decision. They use fear to push you into the surgery. They use fear to control you. They use fear to let them kill you. After researching everything I knew and after curing my mother, and basically the entire neighborhood, because my mom was a very well-known person, and all these kids I went to school with said, you know, he cured his mom. So, Mom, you have a problem, go to him. He's fixing it. I fixed them. I had no idea what I was doing, though, because I did everything. So something worked. Later, I narrowed it down a little bit. But back then, I didn't know. I just knew they all get healthy again. And I thought it was really interesting and a lot of fun, until they wanted to put me in jail for practicing medicine without a license. Because I had a TV show that I was on, I was interviewed, and I had a couple of the 316 people that I cured from cancer or other so-called incurable diseases when I was 18. So the state attorney saw the interview. Next day I got my letter. Could you please come over? We have to negotiate and we have to discuss the matter of practicing medicine without a license. So they made me go and study. They made me to become a doctor. And believe me, not one of my professors liked my questions. And most of all, they did not like my answers. The main thing is, because we have a limited amount of time, it all came down to the point where I discovered that the main cause of all illness, and most of all cancer, is nothing else than mental and emotional stress. We make ourselves sick by living in constant doubt, fears, worries, compromises against ourselves, staying in relationships that kill you, that kill us in the whole meaning of the word, living in a career or a job that we cannot bear any longer, trying to survive with a boss that suppresses us all the time. But most of all, ladies and gentlemen, the main stress is caused by denying us from ourselves. Denying our own personality, our own needs, our dreams, our goals, who we really are. The main cause of illness is denying ourselves the greatness, to live the greatness that is in each and every one of us. Because if you believe you're not worth it, if you believe you're not worth to be healthy, to be loved, if you don't love yourself, nobody else can love you. If you don't believe in your own greatness and you are a masterpiece, you are the greatest unique thing that ever walked this earth. Each and every one of you. We are all special. That means we have all special possibilities, all special needs. We have all special things we could do that nobody else could do. The mathematical chance that there is a person like you again in this world is 1 to 50 billion. There will never be again in this world a person like you. And the second you start to denying yourself living this unique potential, living this wonderful personality that you have, daring to dream the dreams you're supposed to dream and work on to achieve, will kill you over time. There are many people out there that are already dead was 25. I mean, they hang on till 70. But you can tell they are dead by the way they walk, the way they talk. Yeah, I am excited about my life. I'm happy with my welfare check. Ladies and gentlemen, you are special and you are unique. Let's talk about stress. If I move my hand over a sharp edge of a table, for a minute, that's fine. For an hour, I start damaging my hand. For 5 hours, my hand is permanently damaged. That's what stress does to you. But here's the solution. If I put my hand down and move my hand back and forth and take a rest. Move my hand back and forth and take a rest. Back and forth and take a rest. I can do this for the rest of my life without hurting myself. And this is what you need to learn to do to protect yourself and stay healthy or get healthy again. You need to give yourself the necessary break to regenerate, to heal. You need to give yourself at least twice a day, 20 minutes, that you are completely capable of letting go. You need to learn to control your own life, or other people, and most of all, the media will control your life. If you don't take charge, somebody else will. And it's not in your best interest, believe me. Every solution in nature is very simple and straightforward. Very easy. If somebody makes it complicated, an answer or solution complicated, then only because he wants to sell you a very expensive, complicated solution. But realistically, all real answers in life are very, very easy, simple, and straightforward. So what does it mean to take a little time out every day? It doesn't mean that you sit down and think about all the negative things in your life. Because the brain has a horrible capacity or deficiency to not be able to understand if you think about something or if it really happens. So if we have a rape victim that constantly has to talk about her rape, whether it was with a therapist or with the police or in court, every time this poor person talks about it, for her inner programming, for her inner neurology, this person gets raped again. And within a week, this person got raped 10, 15, 20, 100 times. So now this poor person is in a constant state of being and feeling like a victim. We need to learn to take control over our thoughts. And here's something that is very important, because I just hear about the huge success of the DVD and book, The Secret. In my very first book, I wrote, people with positive thinking all die early. And I will tell you why. Because very often patients are trained to understand positive thinking completely wrong. They're sick and they're saying, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. And the body and the immune system says, okay, nothing to do. No problem. I'm healthy. They cannot walk anymore. They cannot really talk anymore. But I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. And it will definitely kill you. In my very first book, I wrote from positive thinking to positive acting. Bless you. It is very important that you don't confuse good intentions and positive thinking with positive action. You need to act. You cannot just sit there and live delusional in a dream world where everything is all right. You have these funny smile. I'm happy. Here's a good. And everybody, including yourself, you know, you're lying. Dr. Bernie Siegel wrote in one of his books about 10, 20 years ago already that all his cancer patients that were positive thinkers died. Because they never stimulated the immune function that you need. You need to say, man, I am really, really sick. But I am doing everything necessary to get healthy again. And that is the right approach. Don't lie to yourself. On the other hand, the others that die are the expert in having one self-pity party with themselves all the time. I'm so sick. I don't know what to do anymore. What's wrong with you? I have diarrhea. But it's special diarrhea. Mine is so much worse than anybody else's. Even the doctor says my diarrhea has a special name. So there are many people out there that just want to be important through their illness. They're going to really keep it. And then there are the ones that have all the excuses to have the right to stay sick because they worked for it hard all their life. How can I throw away 35 years of horrible bad marriage just to live again? Strange. I heard this often. I cannot throw away all these years of working in this company that's killing me. With a boss that just when I see him makes my muscles tie up, my stomach turn over, and my migraine explode. I worked so long for this company. I have to hang in the next 25 years to get my golden watch. Ladies and gentlemen, the excuses that people come up with to have the right to stay sick are just unbelievable. There is nothing as an incurable disease. They are incurable people. People that are not willing to do whatever it takes to get and stay healthy. We all need a coach. If you're in trouble, find the best expert and let them coach you through your problem. But you have to take the responsibility. There is no magic pill. There's not one single thing that can fix all the problems that we accumulated over 10, 20, or 30 years. Of course we have to cleanse. Of course we have to watch our diet. Of course we should at least walk 20 minutes a day. But it's our decision. When I talk about stress, I talk about the things that hurt us in the inside. I'm not talking about physical stress. I'm talking about mental and emotional stress. Things that really hurt. And it is very important that we all learn to understand what loving ourselves means. Self-esteem and self-confidence is the best stress reduction there is. Interpreting our environment in a completely different way is very, very important. If somebody says to you, you're an idiot, you could say, oh God, I'm an idiot. Why did he say I'm an idiot? Or you can say, you have a very interesting opinion. It is your reaction that makes all the difference in the world. Not what is happening to you in your life is the problem. How we react to what happens creates our stresses. We need, most of all, Everything Freud said is BS. Everything that came from Freud kills people. No therapy form caused more suicides than the Freudian therapies. They dropped, there were a couple of years, but they just dropped out of the window all the time. Oh, another one. Psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, huh? Yeah, I know. It hurts. How can you think you get better when you dwell in your past and talk about what happened to you 35 years ago on Friday at 10? It really changes your life forever if you keep on telling everybody that you were denied your most favorite food because your older brother or sister ate it all. Ladies and gentlemen, I wrote a chapter in another book of mine that said, get over it and go on. There is absolutely no reason to dwell in the past and tell everybody how horrible your life has been. Most of all, not yourself. You sit down and you look into a mirror and you say, wow, this is really me. I'm old, worn out. I'm tired. The entire world is against me. Nobody loves me. This is the worst kind of stress you can create to get sick. Because only mental and emotional stress, we all have cancer from day one, or the potential of cancer, cancerous cells, mutated atrophied cells in our system, from the day we are born. Our immune system gets rid of it without a problem. So if it stops doing that, we need to ask ourselves, why did the system stop doing what it did until now perfectly? We have to go back and find the root cause of our problem and stop fixing the symptoms. You cannot pop a pill and get rid of your bad relationship that you are not willing to get out of. You cannot pop a pill and hope your boss is nicer to you next morning. It is you. You're the only person that controls your life. It is you. You're the only person that has access. Stress shuts down our digestive system. Why are so many of us overweight, obese? Because of stress. Because the second you are stressed, you are unable to digest, your metabolism shuts down, and you accumulate a lot of armor. A lot of protection from the world. There's a syndrome in bodybuilding that we call armor of muscles. It's the other form of hiding from reality, hiding from the world. But ladies and gentlemen, you don't need an armor to protect yourself from this world. What is depression? Depression is nothing else than being really, really sad for a really, really long time. And that's what you call depression. I can show you how to get depressed in about 5 to 10 seconds. You just need to sit on your chair, bring your shoulders over, look straight down, relax your face, look really sad, breathe shallow in your upper chest, and with your inner voice tell yourself, I'm so sad. And you start getting depressed within 10 seconds. It really, really works. But the opposite really, really works also. You can sit up and outright in your chair and think, I am somebody. I'm special. The best stress reduction there is. Try to sit excited with a big smile on your face. Think about the greatest things in your life. And then without changing anything, try to be depressed. I'm so depressed. It will not work. No way. It is your decision. What's anxiety? Anxiety is you're really, really anxious about something. Who makes you anxious? You. Your own thoughts. Oh, it's coming up, I need to do that. Maybe I cannot do that. Well, what if? What if I come here, the microphone doesn't work? I just speak without one. The room isn't that big. But, thank you. But it is very, very important that we understand. We are rubbing our hand over the edge of the table all the time, our nervous system. We are straining it, we are stretching it. We have bad relationships because of anxiety, depression, and being stressed. What happened to the person we fell in love with? We happened. And the person changed. No, our perception, our interaction changed. Our communication changed. And the most important thing is we need to learn to communicate with ourselves and everybody else. If you like somebody, tell them. If you don't, tell them too. Why swallow? You stuff it in and stuff it in and stuff it in. It's like you're boiling water and you avoid the possibility that the steam can't come out anywhere. You don't see steam, but it will explode one day no matter what. So that's what you call a nervous breakdown. All of a sudden, it's all over. Why is it all over? Because there was no hole for the steam to come out. You cannot believe how good it feels if you say, listen, for 12 years I'm listening to the BS you're giving me, and today we're going to get even. You wouldn't believe how free you feel. And all day long, nothing happened and you're smiling all day long. And you feel good about yourself. The second we swallow something that we are not supposed to swallow, we tire out our muscles. That's why we have all these neck and shoulder problems. 90% of all people in America, this young gentleman is even able to adjust his own neck, have some kind of back problems or muscle problems. The simplest way to get rid of these kind of problems is to live yourself. Stop swallowing. Make enemies. Nothing is better than feeling that you are worthy to say what you have to say. Nothing is more important than loving yourself, setting your own goals and dreams, following these dreams, working on realizing your dreams. Go out there every morning when you get out of bed, don't say, oh God, another one of these days. Monday morning and the week is not over yet. No, you get out of your bed and says, wow, that opportunity clock just rang, here I am. And your entire family thinks you're really, really crazy. But that's all right. You know, when people think you are crazy, you can get away with so many more things than anybody else. It is very important to understand we create stress, we control stress, and we can get rid of it. We have to stop taking things personal that are not meant personal. They made a study about 12 years in New York. They stood somebody in the middle of some kind of a walkway where a lot of people walked by. And this person looked up into the air and said, you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. 48% of all people walking by felt personally talked to, insulted, and got after that poor guy. Ladies and gentlemen, how can they mean us? We know we're smart. You just need to learn to live who you really are. The main stress reduction is using common sense and believing in yourself and listen to your instincts. You know what's right or wrong for you. Nobody else does. Eat this, it's really good. And then you have the diarrhea and the bloating. You need to learn to make your own decisions. You need to learn to speak out. You need to learn to make enemies. And you will see life is so much easier. Because now all of a sudden you have all these people around you that really like you the way you are. There's no tension anymore because you hide yourself. You try to pretend to be somebody else you're not. Just because somebody told you you're not okay, you're not right the way you are. Maybe your kindergarten teacher told you once you're an idiot. And now 30, 40 years later, because she was an authority figure, she knew. I'm an idiot. I have all these excuses to mess up now. And that's what many people do. Now, you don't have excuses anymore, because I told you, you're the only one that's doing it. And it's very, very important to stop doing it. Drink a gallon of water a day, half a teaspoon of sea salt in it a day. Have mostly a living diet, eat a lot of vegetables and fruit. It's great stress reduction. Because the more energy you have, the better you feel. Remember that every medical doctor will tell you that every illness is based on lack of energy. If a cell doesn't do the right job anymore, it's because the cell doesn't have the energy to do the right job anymore. So it's very important that you give yourself the energy. Remember, all new cells that are reproduced are built out of the material you give your body. If you build a house with bad concrete, you have a bad house. You have a bad foundation. If you build your own cells with bad food, with bad building blocks, you have a bad body, you have bad cells. Very, very, very important is that you love yourself. Get up in the morning when the opportunity clock is ringing and tell yourself, I am somebody. Believe in yourself, listen to your instincts, and always know, Dr. Coldwell told you, you are all right. Thank you very much.